I'm bored. Let's watch Nerdrotic. All right, so the title of this clip is Nerdrotic on the infection of the woke mind virus in entertainment. Man, like, I'll never understand how woke changes so often with these guys. How it's a choice, but then sometimes it's a virus, sometimes it's an ideology. Like, there's no consistency from them when it comes to what wokeness is. I'm sure this is going to be very enlightening. So let's get into this and see if Nerdrotic can enlighten us all on the infection of the woke mind virus.
The free market allows things to be doged, and what has perplexed me, and I'll stay with Hollywood, but Hollywood is the same as the gaming industry, but much smaller. So the thing is, the free market should have taken care of this by now. Like, this is a trend that has been
taken care of. He has such a disdain for diversity. I mean, in the beginning, I was like, this guy is just saying it for money. But now it seems like he's sort of believing, he's sniffing his own farts now, right? He's sniffing his own farts in all of this. It's like he's brainwashed himself at this point.
Like, the anti-woke trend, we're now, like, as far as the general public, they're sick of it. They're over it. Is the gaming industry in Hollywood going to be tired of making this stuff? No, they still think they're right. So I want to make that clear.
But you guys have claimed that like, okay, so let's just put this in perspective. The president that you wanted won. He's going around dismantling everything. Companies are willingly throwing out DEIA policies. They're not even being told to do it. They're willingly doing it. The government is dismantling DEI policies. You guys said this was what you wanted. Like you told your viewers, you guys, and I'm not saying specifically like these individual people. I'm talking as a community. They were told that if you vote for Trump, if you vote for MAGA, you are going to get what you want. They're going to do away with all this DEI stuff or whatever. But this is very telling because these channels can't survive without some sort of struggle, some sort of challenge, some sort of opposition. So they'll never ever admit that they got what they want because there's no financial benefit for that. So they're never going to claim victory 100% because that would dismantle their entire system of being financed for cultivating outrage. And here we are, it's March now, the end of March, and I've yet to see them sort of back away and claim that any of this was an actual victory. There's a lot of pretend victories. Like, they'll cheer about movies underperforming. But culturally, there's no victories. And these guys were supposedly part of a culture. They're talking about the anti-woke movement. So if the anti-woke movement, with Trump getting elected, cannot make these kinds of changes, then I would say these guys are selling you snake oil. But I think most of you already know that anyway. You like being mad about this stuff.
But the general consumption level of your paying customer is the tolerance of wokeness is starting to evaporate quickly.
It's actually the opposite. It's actually the opposite. Look, if you're looking at things from the outside without any proof, because these guys don't have proof, so why the fuck should I have proof? But if you're looking at this from the outside, it seems to me like a lot of people are pushing back against this government restriction on all kinds of things. So you act like they're rejecting wokeness, but you have absolutely no proof of that. You have no proof of that. Matter of fact, Disney, I just did a video on this the other day, Disney rejected policies doing away with DEIA. So I don't understand how you can think that the vast majority of people don't want this. With literally no studies, no nothing. It's just him saying it. And it's crazy that people still believe folks that just say things.
And that's good. The free market should have taken care of this a couple of years ago. I would argue 4 years ago. It was already on the decline in Hollywood. It was pretty
how is that possible? You grew the most 4 years ago. Your channel, if you go back and you look, it was during the COVID era when Nerdrotic and a lot of these channels blew up. That was when they really blew up. So how could wokeness have been on the decline during the era when you had the most success, when you were counterculture? The math doesn't math, Gary.
Terminator Dark Fate is like a bellwether movie. That is one of the wokest intersectional feminist movies ever effing made. It went back into its own canon, killed John Connors in the first 5 minutes of the movie. It's like the best, worst example of there. And
So it's funny because Terminator Dark Fate was directed by Tim Miller, Deadpool, Sonic movies, right? Definitely not a woke person. According to these guys, not woke. We had the return of Linda. We had the return of Arnold. They ignored all of the other movies that everybody hated. This movie came right after Terminator 2. I mean, the use of practical effects. There were so many things about this movie that they wanted. But because there was a woman in the movie, like another woman introduced that isn't Sarah, they lost their minds about it. That's crazy. That's crazy. And I mean that in the most cartoon way possible.
And it failed back in, 2019. So what kept this shit going for 4 years further? Because
well, I mean, you're trying to say that one movie exemplifies what all the studios are trying to do with their films and TV shows, and that is a straw man argument. That's a straw man argument.
This is what's perplexed me as somebody who's just been a fan of pop culture, and I'm sure a lot of you guys in the audience, especially the older guys.
You're not a fan of pop culture. Being a fan of pop culture means you're a fan of popular culture. You reject almost 99% of popular culture. I know your fans like to pretend that you like stuff, but you hate stuff far more than you like stuff. And if we're doing any sort of like evaluation on your business model, clearly people are tuning into you because you say you hate a bunch of stuff. And so because of that reason, it would be easily to discern that that's what you're doing as your business model. So you're not a fan of popular culture. You have rejected popular culture. Also, you and I, Gary, are aged out of people even caring about what we think about pop culture. We are both beyond that 45-year-old age mark. Like 18 to 45, 18 to 47, whatever it is. We're above that. We're outside of that. These things do not cater to anyone above the age of 50. And they shouldn't. They want to grow business, grow brands. You don't grow your brand by keeping things stale. That's not how it works. The concept of tradition and entertainment has always changed over the years. So the fact that you at 50 years old want them to necessarily cater to you and your demographic is a massive sense of entitlement.
Guys and gals notice this too. We understand the cycles of trends. Like they go for 5-10 years, maybe, but usually it cycles out at 5 and 7 years. Every 20 years, there's nostalgia for the 20. It can go to 25 years, but there's a cycle of trends that always happens. This breaks every metric and every cycle.
It doesn't. There are long-term trend cycles. Matter of fact, I actually was looking at this earlier, right? So we're talking about long-term trends. So there's long-term trends that last for more than decades. We're talking about things like generational attitudes. So values, attitudes toward gender, work, family, that's decade stuff. Economic, technological shifts, things like comes with like VFX and artwork and things like that, that can last beyond decades. Major fashion art movements can last beyond decades. So you're just making things up. You're just making things up here for your argument. That's all you're doing. You're not providing anything here for anyone. There's no benefit or value to anything that you're saying about this. We've been watching for a minute and a half. It's a very short video, and you've provided me with nothing, Gary. There's nothing here.
It went on way too long. So what was propping that up? And if you would have told me 4 or 5 years ago, Craig, that maybe it's the government, I'd have gone, you fucking crazy. Not anymore. Yeah. Not anymore. Not at all. I think you're crazy not to believe it.
So we're in conspiracy theory territory. That's a very dangerous place to be when you are a large influencer. It's very, very dangerous. And again, like sniffing your own farts and believing your own lies and stuff, it's really scary when you see someone who has gone so far they start believing in conspiracy theory, or at the very least peddling conspiracy theory, because conspiracy theory behavior and cult behavior is very, very similar. They share a lot of things, like the us versus them mentality. Conspiracy theorists and cultists have this in group they believe has special knowledge while the outside world is corrupt and deceiving you. There's a distrust of mainstream institutions, rejecting government, science, media, having you believe that they're controlled by hidden forces. This is both conspiracy theorist and cult behavior. Typically, there's some sort of charismatic leader of the cult. They're either driven by like some central figure, or the concept of a figure, providing them with the only truth. Information control, echo chambers, isolating people from other viewpoints, controlling them through messaging. I mean, that's what this is. Like, the vast majority of the people that tune in to like Nerdrotic's content, Geeks and Gamers, these kinds of channels, it's a cycle of shit. It's like turd, and the people are just eating each turd in a circle. All you have to do is come into my comment section to see. Anytime I make a video about Nerdrotic or Critical Drinker and I give them any sort of criticism, we get the turd eaters in the comments. We get the brain dead minions who come over here and try to defend this kind of behavior. So conspiracy theory leads to cult-like behavior. It can definitely lead to that. And that is a scary place for someone to be when they have a channel of his size.
Right, and that you, with your tax dollars, were helping fund it. On top of that, it's like, 100%. Man, how diabolically evil is that shit? Like, just from every level of it.
I will say this obsession over every penny of tax dollars and what people do with it is such a dumb argument. It's such a dumb argument. How do I know that my dollar went towards that? How do I know that? We don't know. We don't know how these funds are shifted around. Now, you could have an argument about like taxation as a general concept, but to be pedantic about like, maybe my dollar went to Terminator Dark Fate, like, it is a dumb argument. It doesn't hold up because you can't prove that any of the money you put into the system went towards that thing. So it's a grandpa argument. It's a boomer argument.
And, you mentioned, movies compared to games, and games, I think that the market, 2024 in particular, was a major shift for. I think that it was the customer drastically spoke with their wallet. You saw a number of woke games fail miserably,
but you saw a number of woke games perform well too. That's, again, is he going to name games? How about you put a little chart up that shows the woke game? Because I've seen these charts. And I've seen the shift. Games like Baldur's Gate, which considered super woke, did extremely well. But they ignore that. But it doesn't matter because the people that are doing this are cultists. It's conspiracy theorists. That's what this has turned into now.
And but those games were in development for 4, 5, 6, sometimes 10 years. And I think that's the big difference between movies and games is that once you start, I think we're going to see a shift in gaming by 2027, maybe.
Oh, they got to drag it out. It's 2025 now. So he's setting up 2 more years of complaining. Congratulations. This is Craig's setting up that we're going to keep complaining about shit for the next 2 years at the very least, because now I've thrown out this arbitrary number. He doesn't know. He's just throwing it out.
Games that have started development last year after they saw the insanity and they're like, oh shit, maybe we should just put some beautiful women and buff dudes and just make it super fun instead of, fucking pronoun police and everything going on there. So
pronoun police, you mean optional things in games? That's still complaining about that. Crying over pronouns every day. Pronouns got these people down bad.
Yeah, man, it's amazing. And the diabolical nature of like funding the shit that nobody wants with your own money. That's like fucking Dr. Evil shit. It's crazy.
It is. The danger of even because I think a lot of people truly believe this, Craig, but even the danger of a true believer. No, this is the most dangerous thing of all, is a true believer.
See, this is them. So what they're doing here is they are building this argument that people who just want to play these games and have a good time are true believers and all of that. And that their community, this community here, needs to take that away from people. So it's not that they want things made that they like. They want to dismantle the things that they don't like. That's a completely different argument. If you want to have games with women running around in bikinis, something like that, have at it. I don't care. But the argument you're making isn't to have those things. It is to replace something else with those things. That's the argument that these guys are making. That they don't want games that I like necessarily being made. If I want a game that has a gay character in it, I can't have that because their tax dollars go to it, according to them. Even though they can't give a specific example, they just keep saying it. So I can't have that game for that reason. But my tax dollars should fund big titty women in games bouncing around, showing off their ass, their boobs and everything, that I should just be okay with that with my tax dollars because my opinion doesn't matter. That's what they're advocating for.
The person who goes through their life, wakes up. Think of your average fucking woke white woman in Marin County. Wakes up every day going, I am right about everything. And now it is my job to tell you that I'm right and teach you how to think. Tell you how to think.
So their biggest complaint is that someone says something. That's their complaint. That somebody wakes up and wants to tell you that they're right. Opposed to what they're saying, which is to go in and dismantle entire things, remove things entirely because they think they're right. They don't want to live and let live. They want to take things away from people. That's what they want.
Show you how to think. And all the arguments are done. I'm right, you're wrong. That is the worst person imaginable to be in charge. And that is a large part of our government.
I mean, that's literally what you guys are doing. That's literally what you're doing. You are literally saying that you are right and that we are wrong. So you're doing the same. You just described yourself.
It's been infected. And unlike the gaming industry, and like Doge is going to have a very hard time. Like it's fun. It was fun seeing all this shit getting cut up, but they are now going to have a fight. We're going to find out how much this is legal. And plus
well, the thing is, you just said that people are tired of it. You said that people are tired of it. So if people are tired of it, then why is there still so much opposition? If it truly is, as you said at the beginning of this video, that the vast majority of people are over it, then why is it so difficult for Elon to make all this happen? Maybe it's because not everybody feels that way. People don't want an oligarchy. They don't want millionaires and billionaires coming in and making decisions for all of us. But you're completely overlooking that.
They are literally taking on not just our machine, the world machine. Like, that is not an easy task. That is not something that gets finished.
The world machine, aka a portion of our government. Man, these guys overstate all the time. They have to have you believing this. It's wild.
In Donald Trump's presidency, this is something that is a 20-year journey to possibly turn things around. 20 years. This ain't fucking happening in a presidency.
There you have it. They're setting it up so that even after all of the hard work that their community did, all the hard work that you, their fans, did, that it means nothing. Getting Trump elected, getting Elon in there, all of this stuff, it means nothing now. So we can go back to business as usual, shitting all over marginalized people, shitting all over every community that is in our community, trying to dismantle and tear down anything that we don't like. It is back to business as usual. I fucking called this. I said this was going to be their cope. This is what they were going to do because they cannot sustain their business model on winning. It is impossible. They have to be the underdogs. They cannot win. There's no money in that.
Just be clear about this. Because it took a long time for it to get this bad.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch, and you mentioned like it's always liberal white women, always, and they're the people who are wanting to destroy their own rights.
You mean like electing Trump? Hold on for a second. So you're blaming liberal white women for destroying their own rights. Are you talking about voting for Trump? I don't think liberal white women did. Maybe they did. It was mostly conservative white women that voted against their own best interests. But let's see where you go with this.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch. And you mentioned like it's always liberal white women, always. And they're the people who are wanting to destroy their own rights. And it always goes back to like compassion. Don't you have compassion, Gary? Don't you have compassion, Blacks? Don't you have compassion, Craig? And so it's always this guise of caring for other people, or like in my thought is like, if you really care about somebody, you're honest with them.
Yes,
maybe that's
100%.
I don't care what you guys think about me, honestly, as a specific thing. Because that's not what people are fucking talking about, bro. Like, we're not talking about you and I sitting at the bar having a conversation about whether or not we find someone hot, or whether or not you like my shirt, or whether or not things are going good with our relationships or whatever. You don't know me. We're talking about compassion about groups of people. People who are struggling in this country, struggling in this world. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about a little bro on bro conversation about which team you like more and why I should suck it up because my team sucks. That's not what we're talking about. You don't know me personally. I don't know you personally. So I don't need you to tell me the truth. You don't know me like that.
The greatest act of love my dad ever showed me, Craig,
it makes
was
sense now.
kicking me out of the house when I was 15 years old.
Holy shit. Okay, Grandpa, it's time to give you your sippy cup and put you somewhere else. Are you actually saying that you think the greatest compassion you've ever had in your life was being kicked out of your house by your parents? We don't need to watch the rest of this video. That tells me all I need to know.